unstoppable Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry combo, and Emmitt Smith alluded to it, Hall of Famer, when he was on our show. We waited all offseason to see this, and we finally got it, didn't we? The two combined for 238 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground alone. Lamar putting up another 182, a touchdown, and a near perfect passer rating through the air. Still, somehow, they blew a double-digit lead late in the game. Does it matter? I don't know. They held on this time. They pick up their first win of the year. Let's listen to John Harbaugh on why things were clicking so well with his backfield yesterday.
I think we blocked really well, and I think Derrick ran really well, and I think Lamar caused a problem for him too because they had to defend Lamar as well. And you saw Lamar getting out and going the other way. He read all those plays really well. Some of those plays are read, some of them aren't. So this combination right here that's sitting here in this room is a tough one to defend.
The emphasis on him saying blocking really well. That right there says a lot because they struggled in that area over the first couple of weeks, and it's more about that, I think, than Lamar, than Derrick. And let's not forget the Ravens were replacing 60%, most of that offensive line. It shouldn't be totally shocking that they got off to somewhat of a slow start this year. But that being said, the backfield looked like nothing I don't know that any of us have ever seen in our lives yesterday. I don't know how you stop this thing. Maybe Kuechly has the answers. Do you guys have the answer? I don't know. When those two are really rolling like this, who's stopping them? And while it might not be to the tune of nearly 300 yards every week, and they're not playing that Cowboys run defense every week, I think it's closer to what we're going to see from these two going forward. They do need to figure out how to close out games emphatically. I can't believe this is still a thing all these years later, and we'll see if Keeks has some things to say about this. But big road win for Baltimore. They get back on track, and a lot of good to take away from what we saw yesterday. Okay, I also, before we get to the break, and Luke Kuechly, what's going on with Baltimore in closing out games?
I sometimes think that playing with as big of a lead as they had is difficult on the defensive side. On the defensive side of the ball, there's so much pressure not to give up quick scores and have the ball thrown over our head that sometimes your mentality is, hey, we'll just let them catch it in front. We'll just tackle them. Hey, they'll get 5-6 yards. They'll dink and dunk all the way down the field. But then all of a sudden they break a tackle, and then now it's 30, and then Dak Prescott starts getting hot, and then he starts slinging it around. And then before you know it, now they're kicking an onside kick and recovering the football. And then now the pressure goes from being on Dallas to back on Baltimore, and then you can't get stops. And then as a defense, you start pressing like, hey, we need to get a stop. We need to get a stop. Somebody's got to make a play. And then it just, that tidal wave just kind of jumps on you. And I've been in situations like that, and it's hard. You feel like you can't breathe. You feel like, hey, we need to score more points on offense instead of just looking at yourself and saying, hey, we need to get a stop on the defensive side of the ball. And then moving towards Baltimore's offense, you say, hey, you've got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. You should just be able to run the rock and get out of there. They weren't able to. There was a big third down with about 5 minutes left. Lamar misses a guy. They get the ball back. They go down and score a touchdown with Dallas. But then at the end of the game, when it mattered most, Lamar converts a third down with just over 2 minutes to go. And then they run the clock out. Lamar converts on third down. So it got a little dicey. It got exciting. But at the end of the day, like Lamar made a throw when he had to, and they converted when they needed to. Like, that's just a good team, and a team that, hey, we played really well. We've struggled in this little intermediate area. But at the end of the day, our quarterback needs to be able to convert a third down and throw one, and then we'll just go pound the ball.
Yeah, because I know that I'm sure you watched plenty of that tape when you were preparing for this game because they blew the lead to the Raiders. And just watching it happen, the Ravens have lost 7 games in which they've held a double-digit lead since 2022. It seems like a thing.
Well, good teams know how to win games, and you look at the Chiefs and how they've won games this year. They just find a way to do it, and maybe this is an opportunity where Baltimore was playing really well. They struggled there in the fourth quarter. Cowboys came all the way back. But then when they needed a play, Lamar made one, and then he converted on that quarterback pool on first down to finish the game off.
And Dak was trying to make plays, trying to make it happen. The Cowboys' defense, not helpful. I can't imagine a Luke Kuechly in a locker room where the coach comes in and says, we've given up 72 points in the last 2 weeks. What is going on? Is it a fixable issue? Can you sort of give me the prognosis and diagnosis on this?
Absolutely. I think they've got great players, and then you go you go to a different coordinator in Mike Zimmer this year, things are going to change. And I think there's a certain amount of time, there's guys don't play a ton in the preseason, right? And you can get as much as you want OTAs and in training camp and a little bit in the preseason, but you need to get out there and feel what it's like to play this new style defense. You need to feel what it's like in the third quarter. What is Zim going to call right now? What does he want to do? What is he trying to get accomplished? And I think there's just a little bit of a feel out process. I'm not super concerned about them. They've got good players on their team. They're going to figure it out. They've struggled against the run the last 2 weeks. I think they were at 274 this past week and then 190 to the Saints. So if that is an issue moving forward, that's going to be a problem. But sometimes I think it's just like a new play caller on the defensive side of the ball. These guys got to get used to what and how Zim calls things during the game. And at the end of the day, in the run game especially, you just got to play better. You got to play more physical. You got to play more stout. You got to use your hands and get off. And at some point, the run game becomes an attitude thing.
So why aren't you worried? What is it? How is that a fixable thing? You're saying it'll. Why do you have faith in the Cowboys? And what does Luke Kuechly having faith in the Cowboys mean?
Well, I know they can score points fast, right? So you're not worried about their offense. And when your offense can score points, it takes a lot of pressure off of your defense. And then you look at their defense. Now they just got to figure out who they are a little bit. And Mike Zimmer's he's been around forever. He's a great defensive coordinator. They've got guys to rush the passer. They've got obviously Micah Parsons. Is a really good player. They're good inside. They'll start to figure it out. They just need some guys to step up a little bit and play it a little more firmly in the run game.